My name is Gene Xu. I'm an ABC. That's American-born Chinese.
Some of the really negative and contentious rhetoric currently between the United States and between China.
At the intersection between America and China, I'm concerned about the lack of cultural awareness on both sides.
Doing business across cultures, it's important to do what I call proactive listening.
But I'm still optimistic about the future for my unborn son. Generational ABC podcasts are my conversations with my unborn son, one ABC to another, in my attempt to explain our world in context in order for him to make better sense of his world, which will be nothing like the world we live in today.
Once that imagination becomes negative, then it becomes judgment. Good morning, little buddy. It's your father again. I actually don't have a topic that I want to talk to you about this morning or today. Actually, I didn't think of anything, but I thought I would just turn the camera on, try to imagine that I'm talking to you and just kind of see where it goes. You know, we live in a world where we need people. And sometimes we all need to have people that kind of understand us. So we're able to be creative and kind of get our ideas out. So in the current situation, the year that you were born, your father is an entrepreneur. So that means that I spend a lot of time working by myself. And even though I interact with a lot of people, online and through social media, I sometimes perhaps need more people to talk to face because you know, for me, creativity comes from just having a conversation. So now what I want to try to do is I just want to try to have a conversation with you. And I think the thing that is important is that you have somebody that listens, okay? So the good news now is you can't contradict what I have to say. You cannot argue with me, but basically you just need to listen. But in order for me to make this effective, I need to imagine kind of you being here where I can actually talk to you, okay? And I think the lesson, if there's going to be any lesson in this episode, is that how important listening is, and this is especially important when you're doing business across cultures. So, as you know, we are both what's called ABCs, American-born Chinese, but me being an ABC growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, and you being an ABC growing up in Southern California at different eras is probably going to mean something different. But I think the one thing that is universal is kind of a microcosm, and when I use that word, obviously I'm not talking to you as a little boy, is a microcosm of kind of some of the really negative and contentious rhetoric currently between the United States and between China. And that happens at the macro level, which governments and presidents are trying to negotiate, or there's a lot of rhetoric between the two countries, and that's happening now. But it's more important for us at an individual level, and that is when you have disagreements or you have arguments, and especially when it's a disagreement about something very fundamental like values. The key is to listen, okay? And one of the things that we all kind of learn. First, we learn how important it is to listen, and then we learn that there's different types of listening. There's active listening instead of listening and waiting so you can say what you want to say. I like to say that doing business across cultures, it's important to do what I call proactive listening. And that is listening with certain intents. So one is to be empathetic to what the other person thinks, feels, and values and what they were going through. And the other is to be able to use positive imagination, okay, to give someone the benefit of the doubt, or to give somebody a reason for saying or behaving the way they behave and make it positive, okay? Once that imagination becomes negative, then it becomes judgment, and that is the path to kind of what I would say an argument or confrontation. So yeah, I had no idea where today's conversation was going to go. In fact, I started off imagining you as very young, but then the conversation got into things that are kind of maybe a little bit deeper for a more older audience. And again, a lot of the ABCs that are listening to this podcast probably aren't going to be children. So there's another goal behind me documenting my conversations with you, and that's also to help not just other ABCs, but to help people who want to better understand some of the things that they may not really think about that are actually important when doing business or communicating across cultures. And this is especially important between America and China, and it's especially important today as China is on the rise and America is the only remaining superpower that is debatable, but could be slightly on the decline, especially as far as percentage of GDP and influence on the global stage and stuff like that. All right. So so thank you for listening. I think it's always good to just kind of get these things out, help you put whatever issues or problems that you have into a broader perspective, and then you can think more rationally about what is the right approach to the things that you want to do. All right, so great seeing you. Look forward to the next 6 months as your mother and I are going through the things that we need to go through to make sure that we have a smooth delivery and prepare you for a happy life. All right, love you, little buddy.
Listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or YouTube.